All right, guys, we're back. Technical difficulties aside, we are back. So let's get down to what we were talking about. A little bit more on Flash Boys, high frequency trading, the reaction to this Michael Lewis book, and people are now digesting it, right? So there's a lot more information that's out there, and people are really taking sides. What I was saying into a muted microphone before is that Pete has been working alongside Chaim for what, the past year and a half now on all these projects.
Yep.
Working alongside Chaim Bodek, and he has been with him, over the last week and a half, doing, with him as all this information comes in, right? So this whole debate has been taking place on Twitter through various groups that are out there, sort of pushing their own agendas, and it's a very organically evolving discussion. So I'm going to let Pete jump in here and just kind of give the rundown of where each party, where each camp in this whole battle is positioned.
So guys, essentially, the Michael Lewis book is supposed to be a very well-written book for storytelling, and I have looked at a lot of. I haven't read the book. I haven't read Dark Pulse either. I haven't read.
Pete doesn't really read books.
I haven't read Problem of HFT, but I'm just kind of looking at the reactions of people and seeing kind of how people are describing the main topics. And the interesting thing is, we at Sang Lucci kind of have a bridge from your typical retail in terms of retail traders as well as mutual fund guys. And then for me, my experience is also with what's going on in the HFT world. And actually bringing up topics that I'm concerned about and that I should be concerned about for my fund and our fund in general to that community. So it's interesting to see the entire lay of the land. One thing you guys want to understand is that the unfortunate thing is that it took a Michael Lewis book to get us to this point where we have to actually look at regulations and bring something about.
Yeah, I think that's...
All this is old material, and also, from what I've seen, a lot of the material is wrong. But that's, again, I haven't read the book. I'm just looking at the pages that everybody's been posting for the past 2 weeks, and honestly, not to speak for Chaim or anything like that, but it kind of sucks that the major issues come from Reg NMS. Yes, there's latency arbitrage and all that kind of stuff, but the actual cheating and the hacking that has been done on the markets, who knows if it's still being done. These other firms have all dried up in volume, actually. So I would say that a lot of it has been done away with. But again, the majority of the public doesn't understand it and doesn't get the fact that when Michael Lewis is talking about there are cracks in the system, and then you can use speed to get to utilize those cracks. What's really messed up is it's actually those cracks that make up the majority of the real story. It's not about the speed, and that's kind of what we had to deal with this entire time that we were kind of touring around Virginia, talking about what's actually going on in the markets and how everybody's responding to the HFT debate, which honestly the people from the industry are very disappointed that it has turned out the way that it has. Very also disappointed that there are people that take sides, and then you have all the politics that comes into play. And that's another thing to say about these actual these issues here. So in general, what you're seeing nowadays is that there is a media engine that all of these firms may or may not have, and all these representatives of firms may or may not have, or even just individuals that don't want to represent their firm, just want to get their name out. They all are like miniature media machines. And then you have Michael Lewis. Obviously, you have Mariah Meerman with the Wall Street Code that we did. And so it's like they're all trying to get at certain efforts. And what's unfortunate is that the stakes are much higher now. For instance, you have the actual participants that are high-frequency traders. First of all, HFT is a demonized word where it's incredibly hard for anybody from the outside to understand that there are multiple layers of HFT. There are ones that have great stat arb strategies, latency arb strategies maybe, and then there are ones that are just big funds that aren't even HFT that are using HFT tools, and then you have HFTs that are top tier, and then you got upper echelon top tier HFTs that may or may not need some of the cheat codes in the markets. For instance, the special order types, combos of special order types. Certain scenarios when the order types are used together, they have certain effects. A lot of these firms don't even need it. So you've got all of those layers of participants, and then you've got the whole retail side of guys, where it's the guys that are saying, I'm pressing the market button and I'm not getting liquidity. Why is that? That's where they're starting with their conversations on the whole thing, and it's really unfortunate that the politics between the media areas, so you have like Bloomberg, Wall Street Journal, Reuters, Financial Times, Tab Forum, Tab Group, and then just Modern Markets Initiative. All these guys are going to a clash right now, media coverage-wise, and you can see that they are slowly taking stances, because the stances they take can offer more scoops to them. Okay, and then beyond that, what's really disappointing is that the enforcement, the regulatory bodies out there that have now gotten into a political match because of a lot of the talks by the New York Attorney General, and then now criticism on the SEC for not enforcing, and then lo and behold, there may actually be issues internally at the SEC between the enforcement division and the formation division, all that type of stuff. So it's really unfortunate that now this is all bringing this humongous light to the scenario, and I'm just hoping that everybody out there can see kind of what Chaim's been trying to do, in conjunction with staying consistent with the message. There is sensationalism, all right, and then there's extreme conservatism, and then there's a middle path here that really takes in consideration the arguments from both sides, and tries to, unfortunately, it kind of dampens the actual issues, or the actual issues that are being talked about. And that's not good for media. That's not good for. It doesn't seem like it's good for politics either at this point. So it's kind of unfortunate, but that's what the things that have been happening.
And it's not good for you guys either, right? I mean, to have sort of sensationalized arguments when you get to the point that everyone is trying to speak louder and say something a little bit more controversial to get their time with the mic. I mean, that was one of the biggest reasons that people were so upset with Michael Lewis and 60 Minutes interview in the beginning, because he used the phrase "the market is rigged," right? And Michael Lewis is an extremely smart guy. He knew exactly what he was doing. He knew that the book needed a platform to really reach mass audiences. But I think when you guys look at these interviews, when you look at the ones like Bill O'Brien on CNBC, you can tell how upset and sort of the extremes that he's gravitating towards. And I think there are a lot of people who would defend him who would say, well, he's just reacting to an extreme reaction from the other side, right? And what Pete is alluding to a little bit is like, this has gone beyond just a debate about whether or not the markets are fair or not. The stakes now are quite high, and for people who are throwing out. For a lot of the Wall Street, not actually Wall Street, for a lot of the insiders, the people who have known about all this stuff and been trying to make headway in it for the last couple of years, it is unfortunate and scary to think that just because people are now competing for the limelight, that they could distract regulatory agencies from what the real issues are, or that if you're one of these firms that's sort of being attacked, that you could be made sort of a poster boy just because the New York Attorney General is reacting to really extreme media commentary.
Yeah, and in general, guys, just realize that if you are a retail trader, it is very, very hard for your order to make it to the exchanges, okay? And from what I've seen, a lot of this HFT debate is about what's on the actual screen that's being traded. And your orders are all subject to payment for order flow and internalization, so on and so forth. And these are hot topic and hot words, but in overall, what you should be doing, if you want to be worried about anything, is you should let the regulators obviously come in and do their job, and also let the guys who are actually experts at this do their job as well. What you should do is that, again, speaking from the retail perspective, going through and seeing all the nasty shit that goes on in the back, is that you should actually just ask about your brokers, okay? And we've been preaching this for forever now. We had to start from a measly peasly account. We've made it to a certain extent now, and we're in the payment for order flow game. And only recently has the payment for order flow, I'd say, like the past 6 months to a year, has it been clear to me how important payment for order flow is in the whole entire spectrum of things. For instance, I'll give you a real world example. The Sang Lucci fund is only worth like $2 million. Okay, it fluctuates in between there. We started at very low and made it very high. If you look at our payment for order flow numbers, the amount of rebates that we have gotten for using our payment for order flow route is under $48,000 per month, or excuse me, $48,000 for the year. Okay, and I'm just talking about options. Okay,
and let me jump in there. That's taking into consideration that we negotiated rates that no one retail. I mean, when we first started the fund and we were speaking to people who were prop traders, retail traders, no one had seen the rates and the rebates that we were seeing, right? So
yeah,
we were top tier retail at that point.
We thought we were top tier, and so when we saw this route that said, oh, it'll pay you for hitting the market button whether you're adding or removing liquidity, that's really cool. So we used it, and after digging in for a while, we understood where actually our orders were going, how it was getting chopped up, and we looked at the real numbers and the range for the actual payment for order flow that should have gotten back to us instead of to our brokers' pockets or whoever is meddling with the payment for order flow. It amounted to possibly anywhere between $250,000 to $500,000. Again, remember, our fund worth right now, the AUM, is only $2 million. All right, so $500,000 back to you is a lot of money.
Significant.
And so the way that that we see it is that if over a long period of time, payment for order flow, if you use it, you need to be compensated the full payment for order flow, because you're paying for spread and all this kind of stuff and no fills or whatever, and for you to actually be sacrificing all of that, you should be paid the full payment for order flow. But again, payment for order flow is a whole other game. The whole thing I'm trying to tell you here, guys, is that there's a lot of beef on the street, and it's very fun to watch. It's very interesting to interact with. I'm no expert. I'm just getting into it. I'm being mentored by Chaim. I get to visit all these executing brokers and clearing brokers, and it's a shit show out there, guys. And it's very scary to see how many shops have closed up. You can find information on core trading that Dave Lauer and Chris Nagy have started for just general awareness. I think they actually posted last week.
That's KOR, guys. KOR trading. Yeah.
And I think last week they were actually posting where the payment for order flow numbers were going in terms of if you were at TD Ameritrade or Schwab or whatever it is, and you'll be very surprisingly shocked to see where a lot of your orders go. And if you inquire, you could find out what the real payment for order flow rates should be, who's taking what cut, all this type of stuff. Anyhow, guys,
Pete's actually going to be speaking to this stuff, guys, when we're in LA. So you guys have heard us talk about this Saturday educational event that we're going to be doing. He's talking about payment for order flow at that event, right?
Yeah.
So that's a closed doors event, April 26th in LA. We rarely get out to the West Coast. We're going to be out there. Brian behind me is talking. Roy is talking. Chaim's talking. Lucci's talking. We got Kunal from Bulls on Wall Street. We got Dr. Andrew Menaker, trading psychologist, coming. It's going to be badass. If you want information, email contact@sanglucci.com and we'll give it to you.
And guys, again, when all this hype is going on, just know that we have been trying to bring light to it. A whole bunch of other people have been trying to bring light to it, and the best way is to get the best tools out there to make you have the quote-unquote playing field that's good, a level playing field. IEX is not the only way. You can exist with IEX while you have other dark pools and also HFT routes, or HFT microstructure built into your routing algorithms. And again, the whole idea here is that hopefully you can enjoy a great book by Michael Lewis. but hopefully you can also understand that this is a very complex matter, and that there are storytellers now involved with a very cutthroat type of business. And I give a lot of credibility and a lot of shout outs to all the guys out there that have been debating this openly on Twitter. Hein Bodek, Dave Lauer, Chris Nagy, HF Bonds Trader, all these guys out there have been really, trying to ask the right questions and pushing the debate in the right areas. They don't always get along, but we released a top friendly Fridays or whatever it is. Follow Friday list, so you guys should check that out. But again, guys, it's very alarming that a Michael Lewis book would bring this type of attention and kind of the red herring type of attention that it's seen recently.
Yeah, what's alarming is that, and I think what people are upset about is that it took this Michael Lewis book, right? I mean, everyone knows that whatever Michael Lewis writes is going to be very successful. He's a phenomenal writer, but people are like, if Michael Lewis is really the one who, if it takes something from him to really get people talking about this, then that's very upsetting.
And again, this is not any disrespect to any of the other big guys and the ones that have been trying, the Nanexes, the Themuses of the world. And this does not mean that I'm giving credibility to the Rosenblatts of the world either. The whole thing is that the whole entire ecosystem has so many participants in it. Putting it as one word to be HFT is just not sufficient.
You can't simplify this thing into a nice little box.
And what we don't want to see is, a media shotgun blitz that causes a knee-jerk reaction by the regulators, or even by market participants, like Goldman Sachs and all that kind of stuff. Like, these are relatively knee-jerk reactions that could completely change the market's ecosystem and the participants.
Well,
so that's kind of like, tread lightly, and please be part of the right portion of this cause.
Yeah, and I think another thing that is possible here is obviously all of the big entities, they're moving right now from a PR perspective to protect their ass, right? Yeah. And if the media is able to sort of hijack the public discussion, take it into one direction, and then all these entities have to do is say, okay, well, we just have to make sure we're covered for this one issue, that this is the only thing the media is talking about. We just got to make sure that no one's blaming us for this. Well, then all this other shit over here that a lot of the industry insiders are saying this is what's really about, from satisfying the public's perspective and stopping the peasants at the gate with fucking pitchforks trying to burn down the castle.
It's all a catch-22 in the end, and it sucks because it's a vicious cycle. Because if you don't respond, you'll get criticism. If you do respond, insiders will give you criticism, and then it's a huge mess.
I mean, right when you set foot in this debate, you're gonna get
fried.
You're gonna get fried by somebody because it's very contentious. We got a question from Twitter from Rockhouse. What is your team's reaction to this image where Nanex put together the SIP versus direct feed? So we got, how does data get from A to C in the same time or faster than it gets to B?
This is a great illustration of SIP versus direct data feeds. We currently code to the SIP on some of our projects, and this is something we are going to look into. Again, I haven't read fully, where and how things are done. I know that the O'Brien and Katsuyama debate was in regards to who uses what to do certain things for pricing and actual execution. But this is good material, and I think it's something everybody should be aware of. We do use other dark pools that slow down other traders as well, slow down the HFTs so that we can interact properly with each other. I believe that also deals with this pretty easily. That's old news. We've had it for years now. But yeah, this is one of the big problems, I believe, in the markets at this point.
All right, guys, we're getting close to wrapping up here. We're just going to take a couple rapid-fire questions from Twitter. Let me take this graphic off real quick. All right. Sonic Trader asks, what's happening with the Sang Lucci group? You guys are breaking up after May. How's Sang Lucci start? Could you tell us stories? Man, we can't tell you all the stories of how we all came together and stuff. We're not breaking up after May. We're really just we're going long distance here. We're gonna have a good core group in New York. That'll be myself, Brian back there behind me, and Roy, and the rest of our team will be here in New York. So it'll kind of be the home base, and then Haim and Pete are setting up shop up in New Haven. They're gonna mine Yale for some really smart-ass interns, right? Getting Dr. Mark Shaw in there. That'll be sort of the quant home base there, satellite office. And then Lucci, of course, is moving back to Boston. But I mean, I think one thing you guys don't realize is that Lucci's traveling back and forth a lot. He's in Boston. His daughter's in Boston. He spends at least a week and a half right now of every month in Boston. So we all travel around a decent amount too for work. So we're used to doing the long distance thing. It's it's not really a concern for us. Actually, we're probably looking forward to not waking up and seeing one each other's ugly mugs every single day, which is what we've been doing for the last 2 years.
Last 2 years. Stop fidgeting, dude. You're gonna make it so there's
my bad.
reverb.
My bad. I got restless leg syndrome, man. My bad. Charlie, this is from Mushin. Charlie Lucci used to offer brokerage for international traders. Is there anything like that available now or planned? I'm gonna let Pete answer that one.
International traders still in the works. We do have some affiliates though. You can speak with again. You can hit us up. But they're called Lodestar Securities, LODESTAR Securities. LodestarSecurities.com, I think, is the website. If you, as a retail trader, want to go anywhere and make sure you have full transparency, you have full flexibility, and get out of some of the ridiculous rates that you are currently dealing with and all that type of stuff, you can go hit them up. Again, they're Lodestar Securities. Mention Sang Lucci. I'm sure they'll try to hook you up after that. But again, international traders, it's dicey for you guys. There's so much bad rap around international traders. You just got to be careful.
There's a lot of sketchy stuff out there for international, so do your research. All right, guys, thank you very much for joining. We will see you on Tuesday when it comes to time for the Sang Lucci mailbag. And I know a lot of you have been asking about the $600,000 trade review. Once we can drag Anon out of his room, we're going to make him do it, and we're going to get that to you as well. Thanks for joining, guys.
Have a good one.